The Calgary Flames have made some questionable decisions over the years, albeit through some different management teams. Two players who used to be Flames have since signed for other teams and have been labeled as the worst free agency signings of the summer. So were the Calgary Flames in the right to let these players move on? Did the Flames do the right thing, or are we just in better hands now? We're going to answer all those questions, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family. And without further ado, let's hop right in and talk about should Calgary have dumped Monahan. Yes, every single person knows exactly what I am talking about here. It has been labeled as one of the worst moves in recent history. And yes, well, for the Calgary Flames, I should say. And yet it's not even the worst of the worst. It was pretty much giving away a free first round pick to the Montreal Canadiens to take on Monahan. The Flames, what did they get back? Well, to remind you, we got future considerations. That always goes so well. Love seeing future considerations on the back of someone's jersey at the Dome all the time. But let's get into this article here. This is the inspiration from the Hockey News. All credit due to Jim Parsons here for this one. So two former Flames among the worst 2024 UFA signings. Was Calgary right? Did the Flames prove everyone wrong in making these decisions, and they actually were the right thing to do after everyone's been saying they've been the wrong thing? Well, you already know about the Monahan one, but just stay tuned for the second one in this video. So two former Calgary Flames players ranked among this summer's worst free agency signings. Why? And this also came from the Hockey News. They released a top 5. I can't remember the name of the author of that article, but I'm pretty sure it was fourth and second worst contracts that were signed this summer by players that used to be Flames who have actually since each been on one team since. But the worst one was Chandler Stevenson by Seattle, so it won't be as bad as those ones. But either way, let's hop in. Is Monahan officially his old Flame self again? Monahan, who signed a 5-year, $27.5 million contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets, is one of the incredible bounce-back stories in the NHL. He had a great 23-24 season, tallying 26 goals and 59 points, split between the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets. Boy, did Monahan love playing for a good Canadian team, but just like Johnny Gaudreau, decided to go to Columbus. Now, Columbus, interesting, they can really afford to pay him. I'm sure that's the most money he was after, and who knows, Monahan would probably love to rekindle not only his friendship, but also his chemistry on the ice with good old Johnny Hockey. It'll be very interesting to see them playing, and when they come to town, it'll be interesting to see how verklempt Flames become, just seeing it like the good old days, get that blast of nostalgia right in the heart, right in the feels. We'll just have to see. Who knows? They'll probably just continue to boo Johnny as they normally do, but not Monahan. Let's continue. Monahan was essentially discarded by the Flames. Traded at a loss, it didn't take him long to find his footing in Montreal, and he became a profitable acquisition for the Habs. Insane business from Montreal. Netting 2 first-rounders when all was said and done, Canadiens GM Kent Hughes looked like a genius when Monahan was sent to the Jets for a first-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft and a conditional third selection in 2025. So really, all they had to do was give up future considerations and then the continued services of Sean Monahan for a couple firsts. You got another pick in there. The Flames, no, they didn't send anything other than the first Monahan, but either way, great bit of business. The Jets tried to retain Monahan this offseason, but he ultimately chose Columbus, where he'll reunite with another former Flames forward, Johnny Gaudreau. Yes, very interesting. So were the Flames correct in their business of getting rid of Monahan? I don't know. Let's continue here. Gretz wonders, so that's the person who wrote the bottom 5 signings of this summer. Gretz wonders whether Monahan can keep up his performance. His high shooting percentage of 15.2% jumped to nearly 20% after his trade to Winnipeg. Was last season an outlier, or is Monahan back to the same levels he was during his prime with the Flames from 2014 to 2019? The Blue Jackets invested heavily in Monahan and are hoping his last couple of seasons are the norm, not the exception, after serious health questions. So it's interesting. The way this article is written in the headline, oh, was Calgary right? But then the way it's written kind of in the actual body of it, in the paragraphs, it seems more, oh, is this a gamble by Columbus? Did Columbus sign just a terrible contract? Or was Calgary correct in getting rid of Monahan? Well, we as a Flames community, as Flames fans, as people who live and breathe with our beloved Calgary Flames, we know Calgary wasn't right to get rid of him. They really weren't. Or that's not even the right way to put it. Calgary was right in getting rid of Monahan, just not the way they did. That was the only way they could have done it at the time. But a guy who had gone through so many health issues, you gotta nurse him back and get him right back. Not, getting rid of a first round pick and the guy just for a future. I mean, we know that's a terrible trade. We knew it wasn't a good trade at the time. But we were in this weird window of, oh, do we want to keep contending? Let's make random trades with Florida that are obviously going to pan out for us kind of thing. And like I said at the very beginning of this video, it's a different management team. That was Brad Treliving. Feel free to go down in the comments and speak your real thoughts about Brad Treliving and how he left this franchise, this organization. But either way, we do have a new management team and hopefully things are better. Calgary was not right in getting rid of Monahan in this way. It might have been the right thing to do at the time, maybe the smart thing. It just was not executed properly, and we are suffering because of it this upcoming season. Now, hopefully we still have our first round pick for next year's draft, but we'll have to wait and see how that one does end up playing out. There is another player, obviously, in this article of two former Flames in the bottom, and who's the second one? Well, it is Nikita Zadorov, and yes, I know there are certain rumors as to why he may have left. Did it have anything to do with Shillington potentially? Did it have anything to do with, being here and not being a contender? It's interesting to see why he left. But this one is in the Craig Conroy era. So were the Flames correct in getting rid of Zadorov? Well, Zadorov is one of the overpayments of free agency this summer, according to these articles, of course. Zadorov's 6-year, $30 million contract with the Bruins is also questionable. No doubt he capitalized on the buzz surrounding his performances last season, and the lack of physically imposing blue liners who play his style of game made him a hot commodity this summer. And it's true, he honestly had a very solid playoffs for the Vancouver Canucks. He was scoring, he was lighting people up, throwing the body around, and we know what he did while he was in Calgary. A bit of the same thing. He was well liked here, but the Flames did end up trading him as a pending UFA, as is part of the Conroy's plan if we continue. However, Gretz suggests Zadorov, and it's not Gretzky, by the way, it's someone whose actual last name is Gretz. Gretz suggests Zadorov is going to be asked to do more than he can probably handle. At the very least, his new salary will command a certain level of performance and consistency. It's questionable he can live up to those expectations. If Boston wants him in a regular top 4 role, Zadorov could be exposed as a more one-dimensional defenseman. So again, it's written here, maybe it's a bit of a gamble by Boston where the Flames, were they correct in getting rid of him? I don't think the Flames ever would have signed him to a contract like he did sign with Boston. So were the Flames correct in this one? Maybe a little bit more. Maybe they did prove everyone wrong and really did do the right thing, as I think more people are starting to realize about Conroy's plans for this rebuild. I know there's people in the comments that don't want me to call it a rebuild. Wake up, it's a rebuild. Let's continue here. Did the Flames make the right call moving on? This kind of wraps it up with both together, focuses more on Monahan, but let's see. Timing is crucial when considering decisions that may not be directly linked to future transactions. In other words, evaluating Calgary's decision to part ways with these two players can be complicated, as it often involves comparing different contexts. Having said that, it's intriguing to wonder if it was wise for the Flames to move on from these players. Maybe the answer lies in the timing of the two moves. Monahan, once a key part of Calgary's core, had struggled with injuries, and a decline in his performance is why the Flames said goodbye. One can argue it would have been hard to foresee this kind of comeback. Though that's a really good point. We as Flames fans didn't think Monahan could get back to a point where he would produce like a number one center, like he somewhat did for both Montreal and Winnipeg last season. So in that way, we were all kind of wrong in the fact that we thought Monahan was just way too injured, couldn't step back up, couldn't get his health right, and wouldn't be the same. And I mean, especially with Gaudreau and Tkachuk and everyone else leaving, who knows what his numbers would have been like last year or the past couple seasons anyway. So it is interesting to say that in that way it's valid towards Treliving, but still, in hindsight is 2020. It was an awful trade. It's hard not to look back at the Monahan deal and think the Flames took the brunt end of that trade. They gave up a conditional first-round pick to shed his $6.375 million cap hit. Waiting a little while longer might have brought back a much bigger return. Very true. Well, any return, really. Perhaps they could have avoided dumping the sweetener. That would have been a useful part of this new rebuild. So, no, the Flames weren't right in trading Monahan away in this way. The Zadorov one's interesting. It fits our plans for the future, but he is a solid NHLer. So, in that way, maybe the Flames didn't prove everyone wrong, sort of thing. But either way, we can digress. We can talk here all along about how they are former Flames, but that's just what they are. We no longer need to worry about them. They are in the past. It just will suck if we somehow end up losing that first round pick, but I highly doubt that will be the case. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. And this one goes well with this video, you know, kind of talking about, hey, the Monahan trade, that's an old management team. We got Conroy now. How do we feel about Conroy? Well, I like what R. Kumar said here. Craig Conroy is awesome. Former NHL player, smart and funny. Build through the draft is his plan, just in time to be young and playoff competitive in the new arena. Couldn't have said it any better. You know, the plan is to go with the youth, whether it's drafting up, getting more young prospects, building up these younger players, and some of them have already done amazing, like a Connor Zary, even a Pospisil in a way. So we'll just have to wait and see, continue on that, and we can be a competitive team by the time we get Scotia Place built and ready to host some NHL games. It will be fun. We believe in you, Craig Conroy. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe, like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.